Hey, everybody, welcome to our first episode of Artisan Craft here on our Zine Quest coverage as part of our Zine Questing series. We are joined by Lloyd Metcalf. My name's Tony Vicinda. I'm the Chief Alchemist over at Plus One EXP. We're a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. We're doing daily streams about different Zine Quest projects, and one of the things I realized is we give the designers a lot of credit, but we don't always pay attention to who the artists are on some of these projects, the work that they do, but we usually are very excited by that. It's a key part of how people create their games, about how they design them, about the marketing process, and it oftentimes just gets overlooked. So I was like, hey, I'm not an artist at all. My best skill is composition. Like, I know how to arrange things. I can do layout, but I don't create art. But I do love good art on these projects, and I love talking about art with people who know more than I do. So that brings us to me inviting Lloyd on and saying, hey, like, I'm just looking for an artist as a co-host. I popped it out in the RPG Artist Hub, which I believe Lloyd is the admin and moderator for. And he said he would be willing to come on. And so, Lloyd, tell people about who you are, what you do, where they can find you online, Fail Squad Games, whatever you want to talk about. Take a couple minutes and just kind of cue it up.
I'm the art director for Gary Con. I run my own convention, AppleCon. I started out as an illustrator, and as I started to run out of work in illustration, I started to write adventures and modules, and I don't know, I just rolled into Fail Squad Games getting launched, and it just keeps sort of expanding. I've been I brought my daughter on as an illustrator for the company now, so she's sort of hasn't fallen far from the family tree, and it's been going pretty smooth. It's been really convenient because as the pandemic hit, I'm able to work from home and do nerdy stuff.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you on today. This is actually, like, we were getting to know each other right before we started, and if you've ever been on a stream as a guest, you know the person hosting it can't do a lot of talking, but Lloyd was taking care of me. We talked about cooking lobster, about a couple of different things as we were getting ready. But you guys aren't here to hear all that. You're here to hear us talk about games. By the way, if anybody's getting an echo on my side and you're out there watching in the chat, let me know. Whatever you're watching on, I should be able to see it if you type it in. Hopefully not, but the levels were a little weird, so let me know if that's an issue. But we're just going to dive into 5 games each that we're really excited about the art for. We're going to share them with each other. We're going to share them with you. Some of these might be games that I've already covered. Some of them might be new. And we will be doing our normal Zine Questing series this afternoon, where I'll review some of these projects or some other projects about ones I've backed. In case you're wondering, what you're seeing on the screen right now is just simply the newest projects on Zine Quest as of today. This Dodeca I'm very excited about. We're actually going to talk about Tower and the Tower and the Garden a little bit. Lots of great games continuing to come out. I'm very excited about these two, City of Flesh and Lichcraft. Tons of great games. Come back this afternoon. We'll talk more about the games and their projects specifically. I'm going to have Lloyd to actually talk about his project in just one second. But before that, not a Kickstarter project, but as we're talking about art, an absolutely adorable game that I love that is up right now is Babes in the Wood RPG. It's by World Champ Game Co. But I want to show you guys a couple of the images on this. This is a phenomenally beautiful game. But this image right here in the middle of the screen right now of this, like, boar playing dice and playing Babes in the Wood, basically, with this skeleton dressed boy and this girl who is a mummy, but also it has a Muslim head wrap, is absolutely gorgeous. I refer to this as earth-shattering innocence, and I think that's one of the hardest things to capture in art. And so I would just encourage you guys, if you haven't gone to back Babes in the Wood, it's not a Zine Quest project, but I think the art is phenomenal. World Champ Game Co. is always putting out great stuff. I do have an RPG coming up, but today I wanted to talk about this project because it's in its last 51 hours, and I think it deserves to be supported. So go check it out. And so thanks, Billy, for letting me know. There was a slight echo. Yeah, I messed around with my levels a little bit. I think got it's taken care of. If it comes back, somebody give me a shout in the chat so I can fiddle with them a little bit more. But before we dive into other people's projects, Lloyd, you have a project on Kickstarter right now. Maximum HP, the old school zine for a new school world. Tell us a little bit about your project.
Well, Maximum HP, I've been part of the Zine Quests. I think I did 3, but it might have only been the first one and this one. I don't remember, but yeah, it started as a Zine Quest project, and it was so much fun. I decided that as like a short attention span theorist sort of guy, I get distracted by squirrels and things that run by. So writing zine content is really fun for me. So like articles and like add-ons and whatnot. So we don't release on a monthly schedule. We took the pressure off. I work on it when it seems like super fun. Anybody that contributes to it, I tell them work on it when it seems like it's going to be fun. If it isn't, don't worry about it. It's really low like stress. But I think it turns out better content. So I've been really happy with all of them. I'm really proud of them. Um, we do break away from the classic Zine Quest thing because
What? No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, I know, it's my thing, but perfect binding is just easier and it's more available and I can do it through my printer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I put ISBNs on the back. I just for distribution purposes and stuff, so
I think if it's going local, or if you got a preferred printer that you've got a good relationship with, I think it's always worth saying, what did they do best? I'll be honest, our game Beards and Beyond just came in, and I actually like the saddle stitch printing better than the perfect bound. I thought it would be the other way around. It also may just be their perfect binding. Like perfect bindings are not all made equal. So it's always fun to hear when that comes out. But you guys are doing well. You're getting close to 10 times the funding that you were kind of initially seeking. Hopefully there's been a lot of new eyes on the project, but even your interior, you've got the solid black and white look. It's a lot of old school stuff, a lot of first edition kind of mindset. So
last issue, we tried 5th edition, and really it was doing a double edition added a lot of overhead and time that I was like, this is supposed to be a zine and I'm investing way more than, so we're just sticking to 1st edition. For it now, or at least for this issue. But like I said, when it seems fun, it seemed like it'd be fun to do 5e for the undead content, but there's a lot of extra work.
Yeah.
a lot of extra expense. I mean, I'm paying for 2 copies of everything.
Yeah. Running a double copy out, even if somebody's doing a premium version or other things like that, takes a lot more effort. But no, it looks great. I wanted people to be able to see your work before we launch into this. And you've got this week. You guys have 11 more days in the campaign, so you guys have plenty more time. You're going to at least double that number probably, which is good.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for
Yeah,
you.
Saturday I'm doing like a live stream with Tom Wilson where we're gonna like hand out some free add-ons and some minis. He's got Cobalt minis that he hand painted and stuff, and we're just sort of passing that buck back and forth while we're like hanging out online.
That's
chatting.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. And actually like the online hang part is fun. Like I do love kind of like, it's a good show your work process. It's a good way to share things. I'm excited about it. So if you guys haven't checked out Maximum HP yet, go check it out. But my first choice for the 10-ish projects we're going to look at today, which I've got to thought I finished this. Hold on. I'm changing my pledge on it right now. Confirm. Which I want to talk about that. It's Scobox. Oh man, everything's going to crap right now. Come on, just go to the project. Oh my gosh, Scobox Kickstarter. Have you seen this project yet, Lloyd?
I don't think so. I may have. I was like trying to scan through them before we started.
Oh my gosh, I don't want this. I just want to go to Scobox. Everybody's getting the last 4 digits of my credit card right now. It's great.
I'm gonna see if I can find it here.
Well, since I have to, anyways.
Well, while you're having the technical difficulties.
Oh, so much fun. There we go. Please don't take. There we go. All right.
Another one though. I mean, I've been thinking a lot about that storybook type of illustration that I'm seeing a lot of lately.
Yeah. There's some really cool things. So Scobox classic black and white line art. These guys are coming in straight hard with the Zine Quest ethos, but they've cranked it up to 11. It's got this really gritty, hyper articulated, like solid line art with tons of shading, lots of like really crowded images. My good buddy and collaborator John DeCampos, this reminds me of his style in a lot of ways, while being having a little bit more of a cartoon feel to it. It's a really cool looking project. But some of this art is just absolutely gorgeous. I also just love the kind of heavy metal, which is like this entire Zine Quest, like metal seems to be like a big thing. We see this theme kind of coming up over and over and over again. And I think it's because we see that same time period at which, and a lot of people who grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons first edition, second edition, like the metal scene was hitting hard at the same time. So there's a ton of overlap there.
Well, Larry Elmore started out with what is it? The guys with the crazy, like, take it easy. They wacky guys that's driving these cartoony hot rods. It reminds me a little bit of that, like the early Elmore doodles.
If you actually look really closely at this frog, I think its eyes have like this person's writing. I think its eyes have like teeth on it, or it's got an M in the eyeball slit. It's got these like multi-pupiled kind of concept. It's super intense. I just love it. But also one of the things I want to say, so this creator, and I actually want to scroll down, find the artist, because that's going to be on team. So let's look at who does the art, because Marquis is who I end up talking to. He's the creator of the game. But it's by Gospo, Gospo, and we'll open up whatever this links to, so we can see where they're at. They're at Gospo_ST on Instagram. You check out their stuff. That same style the whole way through. A lot of the stuff from the zine.
As soon as I see that like pen and ink sketchy sort of stuff, I hop up out of my seat.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
It's gorgeous. Like, I mean, like this is like, for me, this is the type of art that should actually, like, when you're doing a Zine Quest, if you're trying to hit that classic aesthetic, this is 100% doing that. But even if it wasn't a Zine Quest project, like, this is all gorgeous stuff. I love this. It's so good. And he's doing so much evocative stuff with the art. Like, he's doing a lot of world building with the art, which absolutely is what art should do. But the cool thing about this project, he just was able to get cheaper shipping rates across the board. And rather than just pocketing the $5, he popped it out to his backers and said, I just got cheaper shipping rates. I know some people were complaining about that. I know it's been an issue. He's already funded. He was already going to walk away with all that money. And let's see how many backers he has right now, because that'll tell us how much money he just threw away. He has 212 backers, right? So he could have pocketed $1,000 extra just for him. And he said, no, I care about my backers. Created a new pledge level, popped it out to everybody, said, stay at the same one if you don't want to go mess with it. Go back it for $5 less if you want. And so, like, if the art wasn't compelling to you already, and the video on this is phenomenal. I think
pronouncing it, is it with the accent, is it Schoolbox?
You know, you can't do an umlaut on a U. Like, I mean, you can. Obviously, there's an umlaut on that U, but then there's not, like, the classic umlaut architecture doesn't appear overused. And so, like, it makes an O a U sound. So I don't know what the intent is with that. And, like, the way he's worked that into the art is really smart, too. But I've just been pronouncing it Scobox. I'm happy to be corrected by anybody about that also, too, because I'm not a language expert. But so that's Scobox. Phenomenal project. I've already backed it, and then went and changed my pledge to a slightly lower level. Let's look at Destination Uncharted. Lloyd, this is one of yours. Walk us through this project. I'll scroll around on the screen, but if you've got it up in front of you, you
Destination Uncharted, like, the thing that excites me the most about this artwork is, like you were talking about, the storybook sort of feel that's popping up. Raven and I are working on a new project after Zine Quest that carries forward this storybook sort of feel, and I'm gonna do a good and bad. Like, I want to approach this like from the art director's chair. Like, I love Eric Blow, and he writes some really cool stuff. And this whole zine is an entire game in itself, and it's like Indiana Jones style Goonies simplified game. So right off, I'm ready to run a one shot at a convention. But the backgrounds, I think, speak a lot louder to me than the characters that are pings and stuck on top of the backgrounds in some cases. But I'm not complaining about any of it. But I really like the moodiness. And the artist is, they are listed in here somewhere.
Let's see. If you find it, let me know. I'm gonna.
I thought I was just gonna say it right off the bat because I was just looking at this person's art.
It's another thing for people to notice. If you're a creator out there, like, make sure there's an easy place to find your team. Typically, I would say you put it at the bottom, right above rules and challenges, because that's where I will scroll down to look at it. That's where you put a do. Because typically, if we're following a creator, we're friends with them, we know them, we follow their work, we know they launched it, so we come to their thing. So it doesn't matter if you put it up high. Unless you have somebody who's a real git who you think is going to bring, like, put butts in the seat. Like, if you were going to create a game with Patrick Rothfuss, put his name up higher, right? Like,
Sure,
if
yeah,
you're,
yeah.
if you,
I
you
didn't
know,
even
like,
think creators on my campaign, but that's a really good point to list your team.
oh yeah, like I always list my team, but I always put them at the bottom because either people already know they're on the team and that's why they're coming there, or they probably don't know who they are. Like, that's the other thing. And so it's something you want to make sure is there. Let people link out to people's work. But
Yeah.
it's here we go. Art by Anthony Cornier.
Yes.
One
Okay,
of the
so
two.
Eric's going full color with this one. And I think if I commissioned somebody to do some artwork and I got these paintings back, I'd go full color too. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost a service, or at least I'd be putting prints in there. So,
Right.
I ain't mad about any of it.
I had the same, but I had the same experience as you of thinking, like, I like this character art, I like these backgrounds actually a whole lot more, but I also don't like they were not conceived as a whole, and so for me as a layperson who, like, only catches the composition level, it throws the composition off to me, and
it does,
it's distracting.
I don't know how Eric plans on doing this, but oh, I think you cut out on me.
Oh, I thought you cut out on me. That's funny.
I don't know how Eric plans on doing this, but I almost kind of want to see these characters on a page in the layout by themselves, and the background separated from them.
Yeah,
because there are obviously different pieces of artwork, but the game itself, he's got like core mechanics. Like, it looks detailed, but it's simplified, so it's all self-contained, and I'm pretty excited to be a backer on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna hit remind me on this and come back to it. And yeah, I want you everybody to know, even if we're providing critique on this, like, we picked these projects because we love them and we want to talk about them, not for any other reason. So anything critical you hear is just coming from that conversation about how do we make everyone better, and everybody who's out there listening, especially the creators and the artists, should know, like, we picked these because we love them and for no no other reason.
I'm always striving to be constructive in the critiques.
Yeah. So I picked for my next one, and this actually came as a recommendation from a whole lot of people, both on Facebook, on Twitter, and the Brain Trust community also too, on Discord. Old Roads. Have you looked at this one yet? I should have sent you mine also, so you would have had them more easily.
Yeah,
I'll do that for next week. Old Roads is just maps. It's just maps. It's by Kyle Latino. He starts out his story with "Oops, all maps." It is just 8 maps. They're all double page spreads, so they're gonna go across the entire thing. It's gonna be 8.5 by 11. You fold it open. This is classic isometric map work, taken to the next level. The hatching's excellent. The shading's good. The small details that they're working into different pictures are excellent. I'm actually going to play this video halfway down for anybody who's watching. It shows you at one of the levels, which is $50, and it's been so hard to not click that level, but I'm not going to, though I'm very tempted to. And if you do, I will not judge you at all. I will want to look at your pledge level when it comes in. It's a $50 map. You get a standalone map that has, it's blacklight responsive and has different clues to a puzzle that's on the map worked into it. So I'm going to run that 7-second clip one more time. So if you didn't know what you were looking for, you can see it. But that's what it's showing you on this, is the blacklight responsive clues that you can discover and kind of problem solve through this map. That's super cool. So this is just an art project. It's just an art project. And I love that somebody was like, I made a bunch of maps. That's what I do. I'm going to pop them in there. He does have stretch goals to add adventure hooks and some other stuff. He's got a $4,000 stretch goal that's a territory map that will put them all in the world together. I'm actually more tempted on this one to back at the $200 level to commission him to do work for me than I am to just back at the $50 level.
And sometimes that's the biggest benefit of doing these Kickstarters, is that it's okay to sort of profile yourself a little bit, especially as an artist. But like, I mean, this style is so stylized. I mean, it's like I couldn't even say to suggest a change in it. It really does stand out.
Yeah. like I said, it is one of those things that I looked at and I was like, I have no, other than the fact that I want to know more about these worlds, which is why I think that adventure hook level is so key. I think he's going to blow through his stretch goals. He's got
I
12
hope
days
so.
left to go. If Kyle, if you see this later, you should add 2 more stretch goals in for your 6,000, and I would even go ahead and figure out a $7,000 or $8,000 level because you're going to hit it, or don't just make more money. That's fine. But I'm also okay with your stretch goal being I got paid. It's okay.
Right. And
Um,
like, I mean, I think I would even add in prints. Like if you go to PS Prints or something like that, you can get prints super cheap
yeah,
for like $25. And I mean, I'd be interested in, like, it's one of those styles. I like, I really like, big fan of Jeff Easley. And I also like Chet Minton and even like, and Jeff D. These are guys that you recognize their artwork from across the room. And Kyle is carrying forward one of those styles that if I saw it from the other side of the convention hall, I'd know whose art it was and I'd want to go see it.
yeah. So for people that we got a couple comments, uh, uh, from YouTube. If you guys, Formal Lens, if you want to drop me a link to Realms Apparel, I'll take a look at it. We're going to do this every week for the next couple weeks on Thursday during Zine Quest. So I mean, we'll keep on hitting them. Same thing, Matthew. If you want to let's look at the art of Colossal, which I think was a Make 100 project, but it did have really good art. Drop me a link in the chat on YouTube, and I'll be able to grab that link and pull it in if we have a little time today, or bookmark it for the future. Matter of Bite wants to know if we talked about the music from the Scobox one. We did not, but it is excellent from that video. Like if you have not, like people debate whether Kickstarter projects need videos or not. They don't need them. If you can do one, it's great. I loved the one we did last year for Beards and Beyond. At that point, I would have said it was the best Zine Quest video ever. Skullbox is at least as good, if not better. And that's not a bias thing. Like I overspent on my video and did way more of a video than you need to for Zine
Right. But even a
Quest.
short slideshow helps though.
Yeah, yeah. Some people just like Lower Stakes has just done a scroll through of their book and it's like, if you like videos, here, look at everything. The book's done. We made it. Like proof of concept. So that was, let's see, let's pull up the Island of the Excellent, which was one of your choices, Lord. So tell us about the Island of the Excellent. Before you go, one thing I'm going to say, people have run with the pink on this year's Zine Quest. Like it's what color they use for their pop, but I've seen it come up in a lot of projects, and this is one of them. And I'm curious if it was a decision before or after the logo was released.
Well, I think Island of the Excellent is one I wanted to bring up. Obviously, the artwork is great, or whatever, because it's all public domain art. So it's classic paintings, it's old book illustrations and whatnot. But I wanted to bring it up because I think it brings up a good point. Art can eat up a budget super fast, and what Malcolm has done on this project is he's I don't have a budget for art, but I've got all this great content, and you can still make a solid zine. It's going to be like, it's a hex crawl, and it's got a lot of random tables from what I understand, and it's looking like, it's like a classic gaming feel. It's ready to run sort of thing, and I'm happy about the content, but I don't want. I hope it encourages folks to move forward with creation and create their zine and create the games, even if they're using public domain art, because there's nothing wrong with it.
And
We all know what we're looking at, but I mean,
I'll nitpick graphic design a lot, right? Like, and typically this is a classic example of know when to break the rules. This fusing of the hex grid with the header, with the overlaid image, with the classic art piece, with the Zine Quest logo, I would typically be like, this is a horrible idea from a graphic design standpoint. It actually works really well on this image. Like, it feels like, because of the way it's kind of moved into thirds, like it's using the rule of third pretty well, like at least for the background image, you're moving from the hex crawl concept to the classic piece of art to that dragon image, and it actually tracks pretty well overall, which is one of the things that I did that keeps on bringing my eye back to this.
Yeah, you want to. I mean, I almost want to get ready for the background hexes to be too busy in the overall image. It's a lot of black and white on one side, but I'm not mad about any of it. You know what I mean? And I'm really happy that he moved forward with it, and it's going to exist, even if he didn't have an art budget. And I hope that next Zine Quest, he's able to get an art budget.
Right. You know, and that's something good to know. Like, or even like a good conversation. I don't know, Lloyd, if you want to talk about this a little bit, but a good conversation to have is if you know somebody who is an artist, sometimes they are willing to create some work. Now, you can't go and say, can I not pay you unless I fund, right? But they are willing to come in for partial ownership of a project, to be co-creators on something, if they're going to take on that art directing and art creation role. And sometimes that's the thing. John DeCampos and I, like, it's a Terrible Games project, which is his company that Plus One is collaborating on. There's a couple of reasons for that, but the number one is I can write all day long. I cannot create art. And so when John came to me and said, do you want to create a zine together, I was like, yes, because you have skills I don't have, right? And so he owns a majority of the project, actually, and I own a slight minority of it. It's pretty much an equal partnership, but like, it's a Terrible Games project. Those are conversations you can have if you know the artist. But Lloyd, from an artist perspective, like, do you have thoughts on that if people are looking for partnerships, collabs, other things like that?
I do. From an artist point, Tim Kask and I are working on a couple of things together. Raven and I are still working on it. I've pulled some other people in, but if somebody's looking for artwork that I've already done, like it's finished, I don't have to do anything else. Like, it's not going to cost the same as like a custom commission, so it can come in a lot cheaper. And sometimes like if it's just artwork that I've already done, I don't mind waiting to see if the Kickstarter funds,
right?
But there is like, I don't ask my plumber to work for free, so I don't ask artists to work for free.
Right.
But like you said, it's all about a relationship and how you approach it. But if it's work that I've got sitting on a drive, and I don't have a plan for it, it's almost a shame for it not to work. I personally have a folder of files that just sort of hang out.
Yeah.
So not everybody does. Not everybody's going to be as open to the idea, but
yeah, and like,
RPG Artist Hub comes in handy, because some folks will pop in and the producers and be like, look, I've only got $20 and I want to do a zine. If arts already exists that looks like this, and if somebody wants to do it, they'll do it. If they don't, they don't.
So Jeremy said in the chat, collab oftentimes mean no deadline, unlikely, no commitment to me. That's just my past experience. I think that's a good point, but you've got it. That's where a relationship comes in. When someone comes to you and says, and here's the difference. Can we collaborate on something is a very loose term that oftentimes means like, can we work together for free a little bit, right? Like, that's oftentimes what that means. Other times it means other things. How do we cross promote? How do we share? Can we co-create? Do you want to co-create something together is a different conversation. Do you want my text and your art to inform each other, for us to work on this project together, to both take ownership of it, and to navigate that process together is a very different thing. And that requires buy-in. And you've got to decide whether the person you're talking to is going to buy in that way or not. And if they're not, you don't want to partner with them, or you want to say, I only want to work on projects that don't have a deadline with them. And so, right. Like those are all different conversations that are finessed out in relationships. So, so my next choice was The Tower in the Garden. Just dropped today. This actually came as a recommendation from Adam Voss, who is the designer on Babes in the Wood, which we talked about at the very beginning. It's a project that's last little bit. I actually, when he recommended this and I went to go first look at The Tower in the Garden, which I should figure out a good way to easily drop you this links, Lloyd, and I'm sorry I didn't. So The Tower in the Garden on Kickstarter, it's a cyber metal fantasy tabletop role-playing game. When I saw the first opening image, I was prepared to not like the art on this game. There are a couple reasons why, and I want to come back around to them, but I want to tell you what really pulled me around. When I went down and I looked at the vertical cover that's right down below that I just scrolled down to, I liked the composition and the layout on that a whole lot more, and it actually showed me what they were trying to do with their opening Kickstarter image, even though I didn't necessarily like it. They're using this kind of what feels like an elongated, stretched out font to suggest the rise of the tower. And when you look at it next to these trees and the tower above it, that comes across really clearly, and it doesn't feel so out of place. In a horizontal image, it didn't work as well for me. But here's what I love. Like, this layout page right here with the enhanced class on it is super solid. I love it. Like, I love the design look. I actually really think that Zine Quest should move to just encouraging people to do simple color rather than saying just do one color. If you look at a lot of the classic, zines that came out in the early thing, if they were professionally produced, they were typically 2 color plus the color of the paper, right? They were not they were not just black and white. They were black, white, and red, black, white, and blue. And the white was oftentimes like a cream colored because that was kind of just the norm. So, anyways, I think that they capture a lot of that in the layout that they've done here. I just love the art of the class. But then when you scroll down, this is the armored player class. Look at how gorgeous this like sketch is. And I love it. Like this bird that is using a jetpack to hover around and has a giant hammer. Like this image alone makes me want to play this game right now. Like I want to go find out what the armored class is. I want to play characters like this. And so I've even had time to look at this game. We're actually going to look at it again this afternoon from a Kickstarter level. But the layout looks solid, like really good. It looks like they may be going with the A5 format, slightly wider, right? But I love it. And this is an example of blending styles that don't feel tacked on to me. That opening shot, that opening image has a little bit of a feel of this graphic design work of the name is tacked on. And it is, because it's graphic design laid over the top of an image. Once you move down into the project, that disappears. I might do a little bit of shading, like a little bit of texturing on top of the actual graphic design work to make it have that kind of softer feel. But this is a gorgeous project.
It really the whole thing, that cover sets up a mood to get you started. I really like that thing. Those things that sort of have a feel.
Yeah, I also don't know that I ever see things that are kind of in the cyber realm where I see on their artwork natural things that are not people. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen a cyber thing that approaches, like, here's a bunch of trees in the foreground of our shot, right?
And I'm really excited about the bottom image with the big city, the cityscape with the tower.
Yeah, that's a very cool image.
Yeah.
And so
with the artist, I just saw his name, Galen Pejou. I'm going to say it wrong, I'm sure. For the crow in the armor.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Galen Pejou. One of the two. We can mispronounce things. Sometimes I'll give it 2 or 3 attempts, just like I did. And so but yeah, just really phenomenal work. And somebody was telling me that this creator's art is actually what got them into making their own RPGs too. Like Adam was the one who told me that. So it's just really, really cool. Next we've got let's see, Hibernation, which you listed, but I would have listed also too as one of my favorite.
Before I hop over to Hibernation though, I think we should. It's important. Somebody else had mentioned 2 Summers.
I have that on my list also too. Want to go look at 2 Summers? Yeah,
if we can, right quick.
Yeah, let's do 2 Summers.
That's really got that storybook art feel. Like this feels like a storybook, and it's like a teen adventure sort of game. I mean, that is a really attractive image. The thing that my only critique is the black and white images don't seem to swing the same bat as that cover image does, and I'd kind of like to see some more complex interior art in the storyline of it.
Yeah, this was one of my first backs. I backed Rascals by Giles Pritchard because he's in Australia, so he launched in the middle of the day. Because I was like, look, I'm going to get 100 emails. Because he was like, oh, man, I'm just wondering if I should go ahead and hit launch or wait till noon tomorrow EST. And I was like, I'm going to get 100 emails tomorrow at noon EST about launching Kickstarter projects. If you launch today in Australia, that gives you a 12-hour head start, and I'm not looking at anybody else's emails, or almost 24 hours head start. I'm not looking at anybody else's emails during that time other than yours. And it was the first back that I did. I mean, of Zine Quest, right? And 2 Summers was the second one because I was up. I jokingly said I'd wait up till 3 a.m. and then it ended up being up till 3 a.m. that night, and so I went ahead and backed it. I don't know that I got first backer, but I would have been pretty close. Yeah, same thing. A lot of the black and white art I know is from the work that they've already done on the system for the zine. This key image actually is my favorite out of all the black and white stuff. I almost feel like it's getting close to that same level of suggestivity that the cover has. But I think it's the softness of the lines and kind of the more blocked out color as opposed to the hard lines of some of these other images. All good art, but yeah, I think that's a real fair question. But yeah, this cover image is just so
It really has a
gorgeous.
lot of texture and a lot of life, and it's like it feels like, yeah, it feels like summer adventure, teenagers, 90s, all that.
Yeah. Let's see, did I? Island of Excellent, the Tower. Yeah, two summers. There we go. I'm just making sure I kept everything in order so far. So we've
Right.
got so let's look at Hibernation next. This would have been on my list. This is actually one of my top 10 most anticipated zines. I haven't talked about it a lot yet because we're going to do this Sunday a solo games standalone feature with somebody who's a solo game creator on Sunday afternoon. So I'm holding on to talk more about backing this Kickstarter and the page itself until Sunday. But let's go ahead and talk about the art for it.
I like the art because it's coming back to that storybook art. And what a great idea to have storybook sort of art on a journaling RPG for solo play. You know, it's like, we're going to tell a story is the theme of this, and we've got a storybook cover. It's unfortunately it's the only art I see in the storyline. I really like that they included their team because I forgot to do it.
And actually, I will say this team, and I'll talk about this more on Sunday. This team is why it was the most anticipated. Like Lucian makes phenomenal games. Jian Shim does like her story games are like mind-blowingly good, and she'll do like these she'll basically drop you in an email list, and you'll get like one prompt a day emailed to you in your inbox. Sometimes like all these different ways of looking at just phenomenal stuff. She's artist in residence at Heart of the Deercorn, which makes Fall of Magic, which I think is like right behind me over my shoulder here. Just really, really, really cool collaborators. I do love like these two collaborators also too are games I've gotten into. Actually was just talking about one of their games earlier today. And then Will, who's doing Torque also too. Phenomenal designer. Like the team here is a huge selling point for me. I don't know how much more art we'll see though. Like that's the other thing.
Well,
like
even still, like the concept that they're unlocking, like I'm kind of guessing that it's going to be like alternate gender tables and stuff. I mean, it's going to be fun character creation, and just as somebody who writes games, I can see playing this as being like a way to spawn off into some completely unexpected direction that I wouldn't normally hit. So I think this is like one of those gasoline on the creative fire sort of zines that I'm really excited to see. And the cover sold me on it before I even read the story.
Yeah. And so and I'm actually really wondering, and I can't wait to see more from it, because I'm willing to bet that some of the different detail drawing elements we're seeing on the central figure here are going to matter for each of the games. I think we're going to potentially see some of these elements that are drawn in visually reference different games that are being played in different ways. I don't know that. That's a guess. It's a guess for a couple different reasons. Some of it's the way the tarot cards are worked into the palm of the bear. There's a few different areas that tell me like, hey, they're showing us something about some of the design of this game through some of this opening art and how each of the games might contribute to the overall whole. That's a guess, but I think based on some of the art, it's a pretty strong one. But the layout's also great. Like these sample pages of the layout, like
oh yeah, it looks super.
Like they look good, easy to read, like super great use of space. So again, great project. Let's see. What else do we have? Let's do one more each, and then we can.
The bestiary is
bestiary.
I had, or or it's your turn, isn't it?
No, go ahead and do bestiary. That's great.
Okay, bestiary. It just looks super cool to me. The concept itself is like fighting off the stuff of 2020. It's the 2020 bestiary. So like all these monsters are things from 2020, but I mean, the layout is like this splattery, plague infested looking layout that just sorts to fit. If I could offer any critique on this, I would just really like to see this cover monster who's like this really cool looking dude get a little filter through Photoshop to increase its values a little bit. But man, I just like this sticky, I call it sticky fingers art, where you got pens and pencils and markers, and it's on paper. Same reason I like those the one with all the maps, because I know that it's on paper. Even though I'm primarily a digital artist now, there's something a little bit cooler about knowing that it's on paper.
Yeah. Well, that's the interesting thing. Like when somebody's like pitching me a book of like, hey, here's a bunch of tables or here's other stuff we've done. Even if the layout's great and the art is minimalist and gorgeous, I'm gonna click PDF. You know, like when the art is excellent and the design is solid visually, that's when I really want to click up to that next level and go physical during a month like Zine Quest where I'm backing a million projects, right?
Right.
Because I mean, if it's a bunch of tables, like I'll just look at that digitally, like that's fine, or I'll print it out here at home. That's okay. This
So I
type of
watched
stuff I
this
want to.
video,
I want
and
to click on.
it's a couple of guys having a chat, and so to be warned, I mean, it's a bit of a political take on 2020 and some of the monsters, but the sense of humor, and you know, like the real struggle of like, oh my god, we faced all this crap this year, and like let's turn it into monsters and fight them was like a nice evolution. I can't. I have to say, I thought about it myself, like the exact same thing, and I'm really glad to see that it's a reality somewhere. And just this thing with the markers and the sketchiness
Yeah.
draws me right into it.
I ran a one shot. I created a 2-page RPG because I really wanted to play Honey Heist, but I wanted to make it a Christmas. I wanted a Christmas heist, and so I did a hack of Honey Heist that was called the Santa Side Squad. That was one part claymation Christmas movie, one part Italian Job, one part Suicide Squad, and we ran it right after Christmas for some of my friends on a stream. We did a couple leading up to it, but we ran one right after, and the bad guy was definitely Father Time from 2020 trying to extend his life into the new year. So we were able to work on a lot of fun stuff. And this is absolutely something that I would have been able to pick up and run with on some of that also too. So again, one of the things I love about Zine Quest, like a project like this, like maybe it would fund otherwise, right? Low funding, like $1,000 funding goal isn't hard, but it's just clicked over that. Zine Quest is something that makes projects like this hyper viable, as far as it's as a non-digital release, and I love that about the entire thing. Was Vast yours or mine? Did I? Let's do Vast.
That was yours.
Okay. You don't like Vast? You hate it? No, I'm just kidding.
I haven't looked at it yet.
The Vast in the Dark was probably the day one darling of Zine Quest as far as funding and backing goes. We've talked about why on stream already, but they did this really cool thing where they've got 3 Zine Quest projects they're running. They did this thing on the first one where they were able to do and I'm just going to scroll down to it real quick, then we'll scroll back up and look at some of that stuff. You could get all 3 of them right now, but there were only like 20 versions of that. You could also, for $30, which is super inexpensive, get their 3 from last Zine Quest plus their 3 from this Zine Quest for $30. They only had 10 of those. Now, I imagine on Season of their Moth, their last one they're doing is this Zine Quest, they'll be able to just open that up, right? And say, hey, as many of these higher levels as you want, that's great. But right now, they can only do a couple of them because they can't eat their future backers up in this one project. And so that's part of it's a really interesting thing, but all 3 of the projects look gorgeous. Let's talk about this one real quick. So that opening image slays, like you've got this, and if you I don't know if you can see on your screen at home, but you've got this very small human image at the base of this giant pillar. Like it's hard even to see on my screen, but there's a small human figure right here. Paralleled against this giant, large background. I will say the graphic design element overlay on this one, chef's kiss, like phenomenal. They did a great job of making it match the feel, but you get down into the headers pulling that same feel, and then you start to get into the actual like images from the zine, and they're gorgeous.
And then, with the pen and ink sketchy feel again that I can't get enough of.
And this one, this knight-like character here that we're not sure whether it's futuristic or past, with this black like light-soaking cloak. But this again, these small details. Like I think in this campaign, that is like the thing that kills me about the art and that I love is the small details. He's looking at this locket. You can look at this filigree on their hat that gives you some kind of symbol. All these pouches on their front, which I'm an item player who just likes to chuck stuff. So like to me, this is exactly like this looks like a character I would play and create. Somebody with a ton of pockets with all kinds of stuff in it who has some sort of important evocative thing that they keep on looking at for that we don't know in the plot why it's important to them, but it is. Like that screams to me, Tony, you would love this. I'm not going to back it until the next campaign because I want all 3 of them at the same time. And so I'm going to wait till the next one launches and get that. But I think it's a great project. If you haven't backed it yet, check it out or just bookmark one of their future campaigns. Well, Lloyd, what are your thoughts?
Well, they're doing great. $11,000. but I really like the presentation of the storyline. Strikes me. I really like the way they've got the torn paper edges and all that sort of stuff. It's really clear what they're doing. But yeah, that pen and ink feel. I think this is digital artwork. I'm pretty sure it is. But that pen and ink
Yeah.
feel, it's just visceral for me, And as a matter of fact, this year with the Zine Quest, I almost departed, like put my zine on in park, and just went for some gritty, nasty thing. But um, I still like my polished zines.
Well, we
But
do
I
know.
mean,
Here's the thing: we do
no,
know
but I like
Zine
them
Quest
both. Like,
4's.
I think Zine Quest. Next year. I might set aside maximum HP and just do a Zine Quest zine that's like this self-contained, like, you know, sidewalk thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't. I'm undecided.
I think, I mean, like if you like, obviously people are doing multiple campaigns. They're negotiating with Kickstarter in advance to be able to do that. You've created 20 projects. I'm sure if you said to them, like, hey, I want to do 2 projects in February, they probably would not say no to you. And doing a maximum HP, but then doing one that's just kind of off the wall, I think could be really solid. But yeah, I love this. And here's the thing: if anybody's wondering, like, I do have it from Kickstarter, and it's part of like the learning curve, I think, for us as consumers with them. In their mind, they don't know why anybody questioned whether Zine Quest 3 was happening. Of course it was happening. They've done it for 2 years. It's been successful. They didn't say it wasn't happening, so we should just assume it is. They didn't make as big of a deal out of it because it's out of the pilot phase for them. It's just happening now. So if people want to make plans for Zine Quest 4 now, make plans for Zine Quest 4 now. And I would love for you to find other people to collaborate, to co-create with, because I would love for there to be less, bigger, better projects, because I would save money then.
I mean, I've done 21 Kickstarters. I had one shut down by Wizards of the Coast. I mean, but none of my Kickstarters aren't big ticket Kickstarters, but I'm always happy to answer questions about, like, they were all early, they all delivered early and on time. So, like, but whenever questions come up, I'm happy to. I mean, I'm working from home. What the heck? Let's talk about it.
We've got, if anybody out there has anything, nobody dropped me a message on.
I had one more.
You had Gamazine. Let's look at Gamazine, and then I'm going to mention one. We don't need to talk about it, but I'm going to mention it because I love it. I love the creator.
Real super quick, the cover for Gamazine. It's like it's like a Gamma World sort of thing. Tom Wilson's is a solid game writer, so I know the content's gonna rock it. But like, that cover just reminds me of Gamma World. Like, I don't know. I like the heavy outline around the main character, and the font choice and all that sort of stuff. It sits right with me. I mean, I at first I was like, why aren't there more highlights and stuff in it? But then I realized that that's the point.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, so it sits right, and the layout is got that second edition AD&D sort of feel with the alternate colors in the charts. It looks like it's going to be that way, where he lists the sections up above there. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about seeing this one come through.
Which, that's the feel I want for something that's a Gamer World reference. Like, I mean, that is the flavor I want in that. I want to mention real quick Tomb of Immolation. If you haven't checked it out, I talked about it in a polished review. Michael Harmon, he ran us through it. It's phenomenal. Michael, actually, I feel like he blends a few different of his styles in here. But I love what he did. He basically, he didn't keep one color. This really is a full color print, but it's mostly black and white with flames, and the flames will vary from blue to orange to yellow to red, but it feels like a third color accent in a way that I find really satisfying. But this inside image right here, from the inside cover, this is the big, well, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything. This is the big bad. The necromancer that you end up facing. It's gorgeous. In the module itself, whether you're an old school fan or a new school fan, phenomenal. And so, hey, Michael's watching right now. There we go. Day of the Circus just posted in some asterisks, but I don't know if they had something else they wanted to tell me. And then the other one, it's not a Zine Quest project. Let's pull it up. I actually just dropped a review on this today. It's in its last little bit of funding also too, so I do want to tell you guys about it. That is Magic and Stuff. It's magic and shit. I don't know if you looked at this project or not. It wasn't. It was.
The art part's going
It's
well.
not a Zine Quest proper project. It launched before. Yeah, they're doing well. They're almost done. But Levi Combs, they're going to put out 7 projects this year, probably. Planet X Games. Just really, really fun to work with. We ran through another adventure of theirs that isn't out yet, using some magic and shit elements. But like this art kills. This one's by Adrian. This bottom piece, the Ossuary of Yeth, is what our characters ended up having to deal with at the very end. This is the mummified hand of Gilly Yonder, right here. Just solid, like pencil sketch style.
It really feels
pieces.
like Easley's Red Box illustrations almost.
Right. And that's the ethos they go for. They've got Phylactery 3 is going to be dropping as a Zine Quest project, which is kind of their anthology piece.
Right. Because Levi's doing these all as BX, right? Or OSR.
They are all system agnostic for the most part. They do some BX stuff, but I think they're, I could be wrong about their adventures. Their general stuff has they're either system agnostic or they're blended. Levi, if you're watching, let us know.
I see he's got J.E. Shields in there too. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah. Oh no, like his team on this is phenomenal, right? So like I'm trying to, let me see if I can get down to it. Where'd it go? Because he does mention everybody somewhere. There we go. Yeah. So Tracy Steele, Jay Shields, Lawrence Hernandez, Adrian Landros, and then Levi does all the tech stuff. But in my thing that I dropped today, one of the biggest things I talked about, which doesn't have to do with the art, though I think the art is great. Like one of the reasons I like talking about art with zines I feel very comfortable taking apart and cutting up and manipulating in a way that I wouldn't with other stuff. And so if there's something I really like that I really want my players to see, I can remove it from the book and show them that work and say, this is what you're seeing, right? Not just describe it to them. Like I can describe it to them also too, but then like move it over so there's a common understanding around what we're seeing. And this is a phenomenal thing for OSR RPGs if you're looking for some art. Plus that actual like cover right there, like that's just so good. And again,
which is the wizard from Holmes, right? So it's a reference to the wizard from Holmes, and it's got those
yes, it is
Jeff sort of colors, so we all know what it's pointing to, you know.
Yeah. And so classic, and he's worked in heavy metal like references to every single item, even though they're all just set in the classic fantasy.
Looks like a Led Zeppelin symbol there. Is that right? Or?
Yeah, there's all kinds of good stuff. So again, you've got right now maximum HP up, right? It just went up a little bit. I'm going to take credit for that. And so you are right now closing in very closely on 10x funding. You're just a short little bit away. Let's refresh to make sure we got that most up to date. But you've got 11 days to go, so you're going to fund it and fund well. Jeremy wants to know, said Lloyd was talking about public domain art earlier. Where is everyone sourcing their art from? We did a prestige class with Phil Reed where he talks about where he gets a lot of his public domain and stock out from. But Lloyd, if people wanted to know, like where are places you look for public domain art if you look around for it?
Well, I instead of public domain art, if I'm short, I like to go for stock art on DriveThruRPG. Like guys like J.E. Shields and a few other of my friends have tons of stock art. So you could get a super quality illustration for $2 to $4, $5, $6, and you have rights to publish it.
Yeah.
I personally like that better because I know the people I'm giving the art to. But public domain, I think ArtVee or something like that is a website that I recently discovered that's got a lot of public domain. And there's another one called something about like old book illustrations, and I can't remember that one. But artvee.com is one that you can have, like, it's got tons of classical art and paintings. Like for the cover of the RPG Artist Hub, I use a classic piece of art. Rembrandt, I think.
Yeah. So because we were doing art, I did save this unboxing for right now on stream. Something just fell out that I'm going to need to find out what was later. Did you back Knock by any chance?
I didn't.
Do you know what it is? Are you familiar with the project?
No, actually, I've been, well, I had a day job for a while, and I hurt my hand and lost the day job and had to go back to RPG only productions, so I've been cautious with my budget.
So go back that maximum HP right now, everybody.
No, that's not as bad. It's like,
No,
look,
no,
I'm
no.
not,
You don't have to. I said it. Like, I mean,
I'm
like,
doing okay. It's just, but I've been cautious about when you're an independent like artist, when you're working for yourself, when you get a windfall, you sit on it, and because you don't know when the next one's coming.
so this is Knock. This is a system agnostic anthology for old school style play. It's a bunch of different monsters and articles, but like the book itself, it's got this this breakaway cover, right? So this cover then
Oh, it looks
becomes
so hard to get now too.
game material.
Nice.
This is the book, right? Which again, it's making use of every bit of space, but it's all gorgeous. Like I don't know what I'm showing people. Hopefully, it's nothing profane. I mean, I can see
But
a
it's a
very
little
small.
blurry 'cause you're a little too close. But the I saw that I got a quick peek of the illustration on the back where the wild things are sort of feel on that monster. I love that.
Yeah, Dust Jacket Dungeon. Yeah, was a cool stretch goal. So this was a stretch goal. So this is a dungeon.
Nice.
That is the dust cover. And so it also was not. I mean, it was not cheap, but it was not super expensive. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like because we cover tabletop content, and because of that, like like people, I don't get a lot of games. We've been doing this for 2 months, so there's no track record of which it would be able to say like, or 3 months now, I guess. Like, hey, he must get all these games for free. I haven't. Like everything you see, I paid for. Even the copies that I get for free, I tend to give away on stream to help grow the channel. The only time I want is if it's a preview copy, because then I don't want that game to get out in the world and people to not get the full experience.
Right.
But that's pretty rare. I don't get a lot of preview copies. I usually get preview PDFs. And so I back these games, right? But I can also it's a little bit of a marketing budget for me. I'm like, okay, do I want to back this one personally? Is this a company purchase? Like I get to mess around a little bit with some of that stuff also too. No, it's like I said, lots of good stuff. This one, when I saw it upstairs had just come in, I wanted to make sure I brought it out on the stream just because I know from an art standpoint, it's gorgeous. Tons of different artists in here. If you're interested in kind of more modern layout techniques mixed with OSR feels, Nock's going to settle you. They've got extras available online right now. I kind of wish I had backed at getting 2 of them levels, so I would have had one to give away.
It looks really juicy. And like I'm always in a debate with myself of like, do I do full color or am I doing black and white interiors? But one of the things that I've done in the past and I've regretted is I've done full color, but offer like a lower quality color print, and I regret it every time.
Yeah.
I should have just charged more for the full like high quality color, because the difference in printing is night and day, and like I almost did a disservice to the art by doing it. So that one looks like it's like super high quality interior color artwork.
It is like I'm a big fan of matte. Like this is a little bit glossier than I would like, but it's not obnoxious. Like it's not like crazy reflective. Right. I'm a big fan of just matte overall though. And so it is one thing that, but I also, glossy pages are easy to grab. I actually, again, I think doing black and white or simple color scheme is the way to go. Like we did, our Zine Quest project last year was all browns, like just different various shades of it. Usually have a copy sitting right here. Whatever. We just did a lot of variations of brown to create the overall effect. And then when we had a stretch goal that was full color, we unlocked that. But even then we kept the largely brown look and just did color pops and a few alternate pages. So like this is the cover, right? Even this black right here is technically just a darker brown. But I do love the way the color pops. And even though this has some of the tacked on image feel also too with some of the characters, you probably can't tell there, but digitally it comes across a lot more for our full color page. It's really small, I know. I can't get closer. But then we were able to work with Nick Nazzaro, who is a phenomenal artist. We already had a page in with him, and we kept it one color. We just went with orange to red as the one color on there, and did a lot of cool stuff in that. So I mean, we were
you have to use the higher quality ink and print and paper and whatnot, which makes your overhead like sort of explode. But as a backer and a producer, I'm starting to think that it's worth the extra bucks.
Yeah. So, well, we've been on for about an hour, which, is great. But we're going to let everybody go. Lloyd, tell people one more time where they can find you on the internet.
Failsquadgames.com. I'm on Facebook more than I'd like to be. And MaximumHP.com, of course, for the zine. I'm all over the place, and you can really just type my name into Google.
There you go. I'm Tony Vicinda. I'm Chief Alchemist at Plus One. We're a tabletop brand that specializes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. We have an RPG coming to Zine Quest on the 15th. It's Repugnant. The art from that's done with John DeCampos. We will talk about that project when it's live, not because I want to promote it, but I am happy to gush about John's art for that project. If the ideal of garbage pail kids grown up as a central premise for adventuring, which I think came from Lloyd. I think he's the one who noticed.
That was my first initial reaction when I saw that page.
Then you're gonna love it. It's gonna be art rich. Somebody was like, 44 pages. How are you guys gonna do that? I was like, oh, half of it's art. Like half of it is art because it's a collaboration between John and I. Like I can make text more brief. But Repugnant RPG, you go to ttrpg.link/repugnant, and you'll be able to pull that up. Or if you Google me, you can find it also. There's only one Tony Vicinda in the world, which makes me singularly easy to find for the good or the bad of that. And so, but we're at Plus One EXP across the board also too. Lloyd and I are gonna hop on and do this weekly is our hope. If one of us is really busy on a week, we may not be able to, but the plan right now is every Thursday for the next 3 weeks after today to keep on doing this. So if you guys have a project you want us to look at, you see one that you think is great with art, I know we got some recommendations in the chat. You guys, for real, drop me those, because if they're up live right now, that means next week is our last chance to cover them. So make sure you tell me what those are. Just add us. And we'll make sure we cover those as much as we possibly can, because we're covering 10 and that takes about an hour. So any other questions you guys have, feel free to drop them to us online. We're both in the RPG Zine group. You can go to the RPG Artist Hub there, use any of the posts about this conversation to tag either one of us also too. And we'll talk to you guys